guys, it's Violet here. I'm back with another true crime story. Took a little bit of a break, but I'm ready to come back at you. This week is about Robert Hansen, and let me tell you how I found him. I was kind of Googling and searching because I wanted to do one that I hadn't heard of, and I found a list of the top serial killers for all the states, and this guy's from Alaska, so I didn't get far. I basically started reading the story and I was like, this is interesting because I had heard of it before, kind of like on a side frame, heard of it. So you'll get what I'm saying. Again, this video is not for kids. So we're going to be talking about true crime and a serial killer. So not for kids. I am messing with my brush because it looks like my daughter painted with it and there's glitter in it. And if you know me, you know I hate glitter. Glitter is the STD of the craft world. It never goes away. So, as you can tell, it's in my brush. So if it shows up in the painting, whatever. All right, so this one is about Robert Christian Hansen. He was born in February of 1939 in Estersville, Iowa. Oh, guys, I'm already flinging stuff on me. Look. Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm going to try not to do it too much. Anyway, he was born in Estersville, Iowa, and he was born to Danish immigrants. His dad was a baker. I couldn't really find a lot about his mom, but his dad is kind of important in his life because, of course, like most of these serial killer stories, he was an asshole, and he was very abusive to Robert. He was just horribly mean, which is kind of surprising because I feel like a baker, like, don't you think a baker should be, like, nice? That's stereotyping, I know, but I feel like you should be nice. Anyway, so his dad was a total jerk and was very, very mean to Robert. Robert had a really, really tough childhood because he was really shy, really nervous. He was really small. He had really, really, really bad acne, so bad that it scarred his entire face. And he also had a stutter. Poor kid, like, got lots of things stacked against him. Whenever he was younger, of course, he was bullied because you guys know kids. Kids can be jerks. So he was bullied. And side note, I know I'm painting this white. I'm making it white so that I can put other stuff on it, okay? So anyway, Robert was bullied, especially by the girls, because the pretty girls in school wanted nothing to do with him. You know, like, think Mean Girls, Regina George type of thing, okay? So Robert really grew up hating women, hating girls, because they wronged him and they were mean to him and they bullied him. No girls ever liked him. So not to get away from it, but as kind of like a refuge from it, Robert took up hunting and archery. That's what he and his dad actually did together because I guess, you know, when you're hunting and killing animals, you can't, like, be mean to your son. I don't know, maybe you could. But he actually became really, really good at it, and he started winning some awards as a child, and it was a good time for him and his dad, right? So that's how they spent their time. Robert did end up getting married to a girl that they didn't say her name or how old she was. They just said that she was much younger than him. Well, because Robert was kind of cuckoo, he decided to burn down the school board bus garage as revenge for how mean people were to him in high school. If you guys have some thoughts on that, give me comments in the below, because I'm like, that doesn't even make sense to me. But whatever. He's arrested. He's arrested. And he is sentenced to 3 years in jail. And his wife is like, I am not about that life. I am not waiting for you to get out of jail. I'm with you, sister. So she divorces him. And he gets out after about 20 months of good behavior. But while he is in jail, he is actually diagnosed as bipolar and having a schizophrenic personality, which they didn't give him or say he has schizophrenic disorder, but he had a schizophrenic personality. Anyway, and something of note that they said about him was that he had an infantile personality. So I kind of looked into that. I was like, I don't know what that means, an infantile personality. Well, it just means that he acted like a teenager. He was hell-bent on getting revenge on anyone who had wronged him. So, like, all the bullies, all the things that he had a tough time in high school, or I guess elementary, middle school, he was hell-bent on getting revenge on that. But guess what? They still let him out early due to good behavior. So, Robert is let out of prison early for good behavior, even though he has said he wants to do in all the people that wronged him. They let him out of prison, and he is jailed on and off for a while, actually. And then in 1963, he actually meets who is to become his second wife. Her name is Darla Henderson, and they're doing pretty well together. Darla seems to be pretty like a calming force for Robert. Makes him feel happy, makes him feel secure and loved. And to get kind of a fresh start and away from Iowa, they decide to move to Anchorage, Alaska, and they open a bakery where Robert works. He's kind of following his father's footsteps, which is kind of, again, strange to me that he does that because he hated him so much. So he's following in his father's footsteps. The Darla and Robert actually end up having 2 sons together, and life seems to be good. Seems to be. So the bakery is just kind of chugging along. It's actually doing well. And Darla is actually, she's really, really intelligent. She has her master's in education. She teaches special ed kids. And she is pretty much the primary breadwinner, though, even though the bakery is doing pretty well for itself. Darla is the primary breadwinner. She takes care of the house and the kids. And she said that they kept their finances separate. And the money that Robert made from the bakery was his to do with what he wanted to do with. So she didn't really know how he spent his money. So needless to say, they weren't super, they weren't all lovey-dovey anymore. In 1971, Robert was arrested for the abduction and attempted rape of a housewife. Now, okay, side note. It annoyed the crap out of me that they kept calling this woman a housewife. Like, if she were an engineer, would they say an engineer? No, they wouldn't. That's just so stupid. Anyway, so Robert is convicted. He pleads no contest. He is convicted to 5 years in prison. Darla stands by him, and she's like, I'm going to stay with my man because she is very religious and she believes that she can, I guess, pray it out of him. I'm not sure. So anyway, Robert is convicted to 5 years or sentenced to 5 years after serving, wait for it, 6 months. 6 months in jail. He's released. Are you freaking kidding me? 6 months? I have to take a step back. So Robert is released from prison. He moves back in with Darla. They're going to church. She's hoping that this will help his tendencies of wanting to abduct and rape people. Okay. Anyway, they go to church. She feels good about it. All the things. In 1976, he is arrested and charged with larceny for stealing a chainsaw, which I guess maybe the bakery wasn't doing as good and he needed a chainsaw for something. Not sure. Anywho, hey, guess what? He pleads no contest again, and he's sentenced to 5 years for stealing a freaking chainsaw. The same amount that he was sentenced for kidnapping and attempting to rape someone. Alaska, get it together. Because that's absurd. That's stupid. I'm going on an Alaskan cruise. COVID, I don't know. Next year, year after. Alaska, y'all better get it together before I get there, okay? That's all I'm saying. All right, I got distracted by worrying about going to Alaska with their shady sentencing practices. So he is charged or sentenced to 5 years, and he is let go because he's released with time served. They just don't like to keep people in prison there. I don't know. Maybe it's too expensive to heat the jail. I don't know. I'll let y'all know after I go to Alaska. Never been there. In 1983, Richard picks up 17-year-old, I just got the wrong color, 17-year-old sex worker Cindy Paulson and offers her $200 for oral sex. And she's like, sure, great, let's do it. So she gets in the car, and as soon as she gets in the car, Robert pulls a gun on her and just basically holds her hostage, takes her to his home, and there he proceeds to rape and torture Cindy. Now, this is for days, okay? Rape and torture Cindy. And my question is, where's his wife? Where's his kids? He has 2 sons at this point. Where are they? Couldn't find that answer. So he rapes and tortures Cindy. He has her tied up by her neck to a pole in his basement. Maybe they didn't go in the basement. I don't know. Anyway, has her tied up to a pole in the basement and rapes and tortures her. It's awful. There's details. I'm not getting into it. He then puts her back in the car, and Robert owns a bush plane, okay? He has his pilot's license. And he is telling her about how he's taking her to his cabin in the woods. And she is just terrified. She's handcuffed. She's handcuffed. And he is at the airfield. It's a private airfield, so nobody else is around. And when he's there loading stuff into the airplane cockpit, Cindy crawls out of the car, and they're near like a really busy street. So she runs and takes off. He goes to run after her, but she's quicker than him, I guess, or she has a head start. And she flags down a trucker. The trucker sees this girl, this barefoot girl. She's partially nude. Her hands are bound, and of course picks her up and is like, are you okay? What do you need? This is before cell phones, folks. So all you youngins out there, yeah, there was a time when people existed before cell phones. They go to a motel to call the authorities, and the trucker drops her off because he has a route to run, I guess. And whenever she's there, she tells the person working the front desk, just call my boyfriend. Just call my boyfriend. Let's be real, it was her pimp. I'm sure it was. No shade, but it probably was. So Cindy refuses to call the police. Well, while the trucker's on the road, he has a CB mic and he reports it. And so the police show up at the hotel to go and check this out, look for Cindy. They find her, and she still has her handcuffs on. So I don't know. She's terrified. She still has her handcuffs on, and she tells them about this young, kind of scraggly looking man. He's smaller. He owns a plane. He has a stutter, and all these things he did to her. They were like, he has a stutter? We know that guy. So they go and pick up Robert, and Robert, of course, denies everything, right? He denies it all. And he is really mild and meek-mannered. He's the town baker. You guys remember that, right? And he also has a friend that's like, no, Robert was with me the whole time. His name is John Hemmings. He totally vouched for him. I'm going to have to let this dry because this is not happening. And I need to look at the size of that. Oh, it's a little bit crazy base. Anyway, so they are like, okay, this case, this obviously isn't anything, because Robert's saying, yes, I picked her up for oral sex, and she's trying to extort me for more money. So they're like, okay, this is just a sex worker that got really mad at him. So they dismissed it. I'm like, who bound her hands? Why is she partially naked? Whatever. So poor Cindy, she's traumatized. Nobody believes her. They let Robert go. Meanwhile, they being the police officers in Anchorage, are finding bodies of multiple random sex workers that are showing up just kind of in really secluded areas. They're being found by hikers. They're being found by forestry people. So they're all bodies of sex workers that are pretty much nude, and they either have a gunshot or a stab wound in their backside, like somewhere along the backside, right? So they're like, okay, this is a problem. We need help. So they call in the FBI, and they call in one of the men that were really one of the pioneers of criminal profiling. His name is John Douglas. Now, keep in mind, Robert had just done this with this girl. This case is dismissed. Meanwhile, the police are really preoccupied with these murders that are happening throughout Anchorage. It's obviously the same killer. John Douglas profiles this killer to be someone who's very shy, who has had problems with women, has access to remote locations, possibly a boat or a bush plane. And they say, John Douglas says, and I would bet money that this person has a stutter. The police officers are like, stutter? That's kind of crazy, because we know a guy that has a stutter. He has a plane. He's had some run-ins with the law. So they put all that together. So those things, coupled with the profile, is enough to get a warrant, which, great. So they go to Robert's house, and they happen to find jewelry from missing women and from the women that they have already found. So they're like, okay, we found our crazy. We found our psycho. They also found, hidden in Robert's headboard, a map of this remote area with X's. If I can find the map, I will insert it. I had trouble finding it. I'm still going to look somewhere. They found this map with all these X's. So they looked at the X's, and some of them were where they had already found bodies. So they're like, wow, okay, this is our guy, right? This is our guy. So they go and they talk to Robert. I'm like, hey, Robert, did you do this? He's like, no, I didn't do that. No, I did not do that. Y'all are crazy. I did not do that. They're saying, Robert, we found the map. We found the jewelry. Tell us. So in an effort to get a lesser sentence, Robert confessed to everything. What is everything, you ask? It's so much worse than you can imagine. Robert confesses to everything. He says that for years he would abduct sex workers, bring them home, rape and torture them. And if they behaved, he would bring them back into town and release them and make them, and basically threaten them, say, like, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you and your family, sort of thing, right? Well, if they didn't behave, he would put them in his plane and bring them out to his cabin in this remote area. He would rape and torture them some more, and then he would let them go out the cabin, open the door, let them go. He would go back in the cabin, make some coffee, sit, hang out. Then Richard would go get one of his knives or guns and hunt them. Yep, that's right, folks. He would go out and hunt them like they were freaking animals. Richard was an award-winning hunter. So I guess he got bored with the animals he was hunting, and he would go and hunt people. So that's why they all had the wounds in the back of them, because they were freaking running away. He would either shoot them or he would go and stab them. Y'all, I know I've seen a Criminal Minds about this. I've seen an SVU about this. I watched too much bad stuff. I'm pretty sure I read a book about this. And there's a movie about it too called Frozen Ground. It's got John Cusack and Nicolas Cage in it. So, this is a big deal. So he tells them this. The police are like, oh shit. This guy's crazier than we thought. So he takes them to 17 grave sites. 17. 12 of them they did not even know of. Obviously, they couldn't read a map. But 17 grave sites. So he is actually convicted and he's sentenced to 461 years in prison. Plus life. So 461 years plus life. So I don't know what kind of lesser, maybe he just didn't want the death penalty. Why are all these serial killers afraid of the death penalty? Like, you are out there killing people. You need that. No. Oh, back to Darla. So Darla, of course, now that he is a freaking serial killer that likes to hunt people, she has divorced him and she moved her and her children to a different state because they were being bullied, which I would imagine so. Not that they should be bullied, but I can't imagine living with that. Goodness. Anyway, so I don't know where they're at now. I don't need to know. They need their own life. Whenever Robert was 75 years old, he died in prison from, they said, a lingering illness. Nobody really said what the illness was, but I personally think that it was something he got from his days of, like, just nastiness and, you know, frequenting sex workers. Again, no shade, really. But if anybody needs to get that kind of disease, it would be him, and I'm glad for it. So what do you guys think about this? Like, it is bananas to me that he would go and hunt them. I have not seen the movie Frozen Ground, but I'm going to see it because y'all know I like Nicolas Cage. And I do like John Cusack, too. Oh, and Vanessa Hudgens plays Cindy, the sex worker that gets away. So I like me a Vanessa Hudgens movie, especially when she gets to be serious. I don't know, maybe I can't stand her being serious. It would be like Gabriella getting attacked. Ooh, I don't know about that. What do you guys think about the painting? I just kind of did it today. Didn't really follow anything. I usually have like a printout over there that I'll just kind of follow so I can pay attention and talk to you guys, but here we are. So if I'm all over the place, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe. That is super helpful. Share it, like it. That's what friends do. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I will see you guys hopefully next week. All right? Bye, guys.